Hello, hope you are well. Today, I want to talk about gambling. I saw an egregious story earlier this week about Draftkings adding a $20 subscription service to boost odds on certain parlays. This really pissed me off. I hate sports betting. I refuse to bet on sports. Every single one of my friends does it, and they have pestered me in the past about just downloading it so they can get referral money. We could both get like 50 bucks. Each and every time that happens, I say no, and it pisses me off. I think sports gambling is a massive problem. That's not exactly a crazy statement or anything, but it's become so ingrained with everything. You can't watch any sort of sport without being bombarded like Britain in World War II with sports betting ads. It's absolutely ridiculous. The amount of money spent on these services is insane. You got FanDuel and Draftkings and Fanatics or ESPN Bet, and it just goes on and on and on. There's so many of them. There was about $150 billion wagered on sports in 2024 alone, and that number's only going to get higher and higher as the years go along. It isn't surprising that sports gambling is so popular. I mean, it's literally so easy to do and quite frankly really fun. They reel you in with some free play and then some boosted odds, and then force you to add a card onto your account to put money in it. Then, once you get that sweet nectar of watching sports with money on it, whether you win or lose, you go back for more. There's a study from Southern Methodist University where they found out of 700,000 sports bettors, only 5% of them withdrew more money than they put in. That is a shocking number. Personally, the biggest reason why I don't bet on sports, considering how many sports I watch, go Birds, is that I will never link my bank account to a gambling app. I know myself well enough to know that if I added my card to FanDuel, the dam would break and there would be no going back. Like I just mentioned, even if you lose your first free bet, and even more so when you win, you will get caught on the hook. I believe the only way to get a free bet is to deposit some money, which means that you have to link a card to the account. This is the biggest barrier to entry, and sportsbooks have perfected removing it for customers. I, like pretty much everyone else, have an addictive personality, which honestly is not really a thing, just human nature. There's some predispositions, but everybody can be addicted to something. Myself, I really like gambling, and I'm not particularly good at it. The thing is though, I don't do it very often. I'll go to the casino, and back when I lived in Jersey, it was mainly Atlantic City every couple months. So even if I went there, I lost a couple $100 maybe, sometimes I would actually win, and it would be really fun, and that's honestly okay. Even if someone goes often, I don't think it's a problem, except when you start to become irrational with it. Meaning, the high you were chasing overtakes you. The anticipation of actually gambling trumps winning. Therefore, you will almost always create a cycle of the urge to keep playing no matter how much you win. And it gets even worse when you start getting alcohol in you, which they promote so heavily when you're out there gambling. Every time I drink alcohol, I basically am guaranteed to lose money. And honestly, I'm guaranteed to lose money too, even if I don't drink alcohol, so I guess it doesn't really make that big of a difference. Now, with sports betting in particular, I can only imagine the nervous excitement you get when watching a game for a bet to hit. Again, I've never sports bet on anything other than when my friends ask me, Matt, who's going to score a touchdown in this Eagles-Rams game? And I'll give an answer like A.J. Brown. Even though I won't make any money on it, I still end up rooting a little more for him to score specifically, or rooting for my players in fantasy football to score. Like when Saquon Barkley goes down at the 1 yard line, you just know he will never get the ball again with the damn tush push. One of my good friends back during the beginning of COVID was betting so often he was going insane that there were no sporting events. So he took his eyes overseas where he was betting on something like Russian ping pong matches. I don't even know how or where he found these sports books for this, but he did. Like a cocaine user being able to find cocaine somehow, some way, no matter where they are located. So with all this being said, why do I think it's bad? The obvious answer is, of course, that basically everyone will lose money doing it. Like, yeah, that's not great, especially considering some people lose everything trying to win it back, but I think the argument is somewhat overblown. I would say that the fact that gambling companies are using gross psychological warfare on its users is what makes it bad to me, and just think it's a net negative on society and kind of predicts where the future is going to be heading soon. Through this manipulation, users, mostly young men, are essentially paying a form of tax. One of my friends has lost over $15,000 over the past 4 years. When we go to the casino, he will vanish for a while, pop back up to us with some $600 win, but what he won't tell us is that he spent $900 to do it. If you're a little younger and never gambled before, it's the same premise of saving up arcade tickets to buy a PS5, which would just be way cheaper to buy the actual PS5 itself. What sucks about this is that no matter how much my friend ends up losing, he will still keep doing it and he just cannot stop. It is that itch that he has to make up what he already lost, and doing that makes you take on riskier bets and riskier gambling machines, and you're just going to end up losing. It's really tough for humans to just accept their losses and move on. And then on top of that, no one likes to tell other people that they lost. There's a sense of shame when admitting it. And even though we all fail or lose at some point, it's very easy to beat yourself up. Therefore, we only share our wins, and then that makes it appear like everyone else is doing better than you are. There's three things that come from this. One is that you start to gamble riskier in hopes to outperform whoever told you that they won big. This would be someone who is competitive and wants to win no matter the price. The problem with this is that when you start betting riskier, you're probably going to lose, and even if you do win, it's going to be tough to make up what you already lost. The second thing is that you could start following guys on Twitter, or X, claiming that they are sharps and pay them money for some stupid course they're trying to sell. Again, this is just dumb. It's as dumb as buying Andrew Tate's Hustler Academy or whatever the hell it was called. It's a scam, it's a grift. Don't do that, please. Or three, you end up realizing, fuck it, this ain't worth it anymore. All it does is piss me off. Now, any of these things can happen, and I'm sure there's more things that could happen. I'm just too stupid to remember or know what they are. But no matter what these outcomes are, one thing will always stay true. The sports books are always going to rake in the money. The ecosystem they have managed to curate is unimaginably evil. It started with these daily fantasies before the Supreme Court legalized sports betting federally in 2018. You could go to Vegas and sports bet, and there was a couple other little things in different states, but for the most part, it was only Vegas. So it wasn't like sports betting was not around before 2018, but this made it really, really tough to do, and especially consistently. Like, yeah, I guess you can go take a trip to Vegas and sports bet for a weekend, but after that, you'd forget about it and wouldn't be able to do it. Fast forward a couple years and ask any young man, or honestly any man in general, who watches sports if they bet or not, and I would guess at least 60 to 70% of them say they do or at least did. I don't think most of these guys are losing life-changing money or anything. I mean, some probably are, but for the most part, it's just a fun way to watch sports. If you gamble on sports, have fun and enjoy it, who cares? As long as you're able to pay the bills and all your necessities to live. I just think the whole industry is gross and it just feels very slimy to me, taking advantage of people for an absurd amount of money. With that being said, let me go back to the article about the subscription service. This has been a step too far for me, and honestly, I'm so sick of monthly services. I get why they do it. It's a great, reliable way to generate consistent revenue. But my god, do we really need to add another monthly payment to the already large list of things we pay for? I'm about to talk about what it actually entails, but I want to just preface with two things. One, Draftkings never gives out deals or promos that actually advantages the player. The player may benefit in the short term, but again, this is only to give them that sweet nectar to keep coming back. In the long run, the house always wins, and they know that. Between mathematicians and psychologists, they have perfected the ways to keep players there. The second thing is that while this subscription service honestly isn't that crazy, these companies are sharks about to circle their prey. If this succeeds, and I feel that it probably will, then there will be more and more subscription services added. That will obviously hurt the players in the long run. I would not even be shocked if at some point there will be a monthly fee just to be allowed to gamble on these sites. Anyways, let's take a little further look about what will be included in this package. It's only in New York right now with some good old testing before fully releasing it. Nothing out of the ordinary there. Here's what it includes. Members would have access to stepped up boost for all parlays where individual legs are minus 500 or longer. 2-leg parlays will see profits increased by 10% as part of the membership, and the boost will grow as the parlays get bigger. A parlay with more than 10 legs will have the profits for the bettor doubled. All this is basically saying is each added bet to a parlay, players with Draftkings Plus will get boosted odds by a certain percentage. What makes this special is that it adds boost to theoretically easy bets to minus 500 or lower. So hey, you can make your money back pretty easily. What they fail to mention is that they would never do this if they thought they would lose money on you. Obviously, they think this will bring them more money. The more bets you have to add to a parlay, the more likely that bet is going to fail. Even if there is better odds, nothing is ever free in life. And on top of that, this next portion is just the icing on top for me. The subscription service was designed to offer our customers an enhanced fan experience, creating more excitement and value to our extensive parlay offering, Draftkings said in a statement. The statement said the offering will start with select eligible customers only in New York, though it was not specific about who would qualify. For those of you who do not know, these companies track their users extensively. Wins, losses, when they bet, if they take betting breaks, what they like to bet on, everything you can possibly imagine. If someone wins too much, they will proceed to basically shadow ban that person by limiting how much they can bet. They won't completely kick them off the app because they know that would be a stupid idea, but when you're limiting how much someone can bet and if they're good at it, that's basically the same freaking thing. So when DraftKings specifies that they will offer this to select eligible users, to me, that's code word for let's let the idiots buy this and lose their money since they won't hit on these parlays anyway. I really am torn on this whole ordeal. On one hand, people should be able to do what they want. Making things illegal almost always makes the problem worse. At the same time, there's a reasonable argument that these sports bettors aren't in control of their own actions. They are marionettes being controlled by DraftKings. I just find it sad that I personally know people losing tons and tons of money even if they aren't telling me. Like that friend that I had that lost 15K has been hiding it from his girlfriend for years now. Sure, losing money is one thing, and you can bounce back from that. But the mental toll gambling addicts face are heavy, and through this can easily lead to other dependencies like alcohol or smoking. It's something as a country and a society we're going to have to navigate, and at some point face. It's not totally an issue yet, like it's definitely affected some people, but I don't think it's big enough to where it warrants going after these companies. But at some point, it's going to happen, and especially at the rate at which it's growing, it's almost inevitable there will be a crossroads at some point. But I don't know. I'm not the right guy for solutions. I'm just some faceless guy ranting about some things on the internet. If you have any gambling stories or problems, I would honestly love to hear them in the comments. I'm not trying to make fun of you or anything. I just am really curious to hear about how it affects people. And, I think it's good dialogue for other people to hear that they're not alone in their issues. My final thoughts on sports betting is that it's very predatory, but the bigger question is why are so many people doing it? Besides the fact that it's fun, I think this speaks to a larger issue. That issue being that people don't feel like they have any means to get ahead or even just live comfortably without having to worry about money. Some of my friends gamble and claim that it's like an investment. This attitude is by far the worst you can have in my opinion when it comes to sports betting. Whenever they tell me this, I usually just shake my head yes and don't really try to refute their claim since it's a needless argument that will go nowhere. There are some people that can make money and it's certainly possible. But going back to the Southern Methodist study, how likely is it that they are part of the 5% who withdraw more than they deposit? Well, if you have 95% of people not doing that, then, well, there you go. As soon as your fun hobby of sports betting turns into a way of trying to actually make money, there needs to be some consideration of what you're doing. Things like sports betting and even shit like OnlyFans speaks to the larger issue as a whole, that people don't feel like they have a purpose anymore. I'm not going to sit here and act like I have my shit together or I don't love sports. Trust me, I do. I just question if there's a better way for us to not be so focused on these artificial things and find real fulfillment in our lives. Sports betting has to fill some sort of void for people, and I don't really have any answers for this. I think this is a personal issue that people will have to face head on and figure it out themselves. I actually want to dive into this topic in a later video and sometime in February, basically talking about the backlash towards phones and screen times and just finding purpose in life. I think I've rambled on long enough at this point, so with all that being said, thank you for watching and have a great day.